In the annals of time, where legends reside, in the hall where the faithful and steadfast abide, their names etched in glory, their stories untamed, welcome, dear traveler, to the Faith Hall of Fame.
Hebrews 11, often referred to as the Faith Hall of Fame, stands as a powerful testament to the enduring nature of faith across generations. This chapter serves as a roll call of biblical heroes whose lives exemplified profound trust in God's promises despite not seeing their fulfillment in their lifetimes. Opening with a profound definition. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Hebrews 11, verse 1. The chapter sets the stage for a narrative that interweaves the lives of these individuals, highlighting the mutual influences and triadic relationships that underpin their acts of faith. Through the stories of figures like Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Sarah, Moses, and Rahab, among others, Hebrews 11 offers a rich tapestry of faith that transcends time, providing timeless lessons for contemporary believers.
Oh, step inside the sacred light where heroes walked by faith, not sight, their hearts a beacon, burning bright, in the Faith Hall of Fame tonight.
The early faith exemplars, Abel, Enoch, and Noah, serve as the foundational triad, each illustrating a distinct aspect of faith. Abel's faith is demonstrated through his more acceptable sacrifice, which sets a precedent for righteous living. His faith coexists with Enoch and Noah, forming a coherent narrative of early faithfulness. By faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings. Hebrews 11, verse 4. Enoch's faith, marked by his being taken up to heaven without experiencing death, reinforces the narrative of early exemplars, building on Abel's righteousness. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. Hebrews 11, verse 5. Noah's faith, exhibited through his obedience in building the ark, demonstrates the principle of faith in action, following the examples of Abel and Enoch. By faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. Hebrews 11, verse 7.
Abel's faith in offering a righteous light did shine, a better gift than Cain's through sacrifice divine. Enoch walked with God. In faith he found his way, taken up to heaven, he pleased the Lord each day. By faith, they laid the stone in righteousness and grace. Their stories echo strong through time and sacred space. In Abel, Enoch, Noah, faith's foundation stands, a triad of devotion in God's eternal plans. Noah built an ark. In faith he heard the call, prepared for unseen floods, in holy fear stood tall. Together they reveal a narrative so clear, faith in action, trust in God, from hearts sincere.
The narrative then transitions to the patriarchal faith, focusing on Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Abraham's faith is foundational, as he obeyed God's call to move to an unknown land, trusting in God's promise of descendants. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went even though he did not know where he was going. Hebrews 11, verse 8. Sarah's faith, which enabled her to conceive Isaac despite her old age, complements Abraham's faith by showcasing the fulfillment of God's promises. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. Hebrews 11, verse 11. The faith of Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph sustains and extends Abraham's legacy, each trusting in God's promises and demonstrating faith through generational blessings and prophecies. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed each of Joseph's sons and worshipped as he leaned on the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when his end was near, spoke about the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt and gave instructions concerning the burial of his bones. Hebrews 11, verses 20 to 22.
Abraham left his home, to unknown lands he'd roam. By faith he walked with God and made his promise known. Sarah's faith gave birth when all seemed out of reach, fulfilled in Isaac's birth through trust in God's great speech. By faith they moved as one, through generations past their legacy lives on, in stories meant to last. From Abraham to Joseph their faith would never cease, a testament to trust in God's enduring peace. Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, in blessings did they trust, passed down the sacred word in promises robust. Their faith sustained the line in prophecy and grace, a lineage divine in God's embracing space.
In the context of leadership and deliverance, the chapter highlights Moses, Joshua, and Rahab. Moses' faith is exemplified by his choice to identify with God's people rather than enjoy the fleeting pleasures of Egypt. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. By faith, he left Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He persevered because he saw him who is invisible. Hebrews 11:24-27. Although Joshua is not mentioned directly in Hebrews 11, his leadership and faith are implied through Rahab's narrative, reinforcing Moses' legacy. Joshua's faith is an extension of Moses' leadership, culminating in the conquest of Jericho. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell after the army had marched around them for 7 days. Hebrews 11:30. Rahab's faith, demonstrated by her protection of the Israelite spies, complements Joshua's faith and fulfills Moses' mission. By faith, the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. Hebrews 11:31.
Moses turned away from Egypt's royal claim, chose to stand with God and bear his holy name. By faith he led them forth through sea and desert wide, for he saw the unseen, and in that faith he'd abide. By faith walls tumbled down as Joshua led on, and Rahab's heart was saved, her faith in action strong. From Moses to the spies their faith united them. In God's deliverance they found their strength again. Joshua's conquest won through Jericho's high walls. By faith they marched around and saw the fortress fall. Rahab's faith was clear. She hid the spies with care, a symbol of redemption and God's protective prayer.
The chapter also references the faith of judges and kings such as Gideon, Barak, and Samson. Gideon's faith showcases trust in God's unconventional strategy to defeat the Midianites, contributing to the narrative of deliverance through faith. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets. Hebrews 11:32. Barak's faith, encouraged by Deborah, follows Gideon's example of trust, and Samson's faith, despite his flaws, highlights God's ability to use imperfect individuals for his purposes. These stories, while not detailed in Hebrews 11, contribute to the overall theme of deliverance through faith.
Gideon stood firm with faith to guide his hand. Against the Midianites he led a chosen band. Barak and Deborah together faith did weave, a tapestry of trust in victories they'd achieve. By faith they judged and fought, imperfect yet so strong, deliverance through God, in battles they belonged. Gideon, Barak, Samson, their faith did not misguide. God used their human flaws to lead and to provide. Samson's final stand, in faith he pushed and fell, God's strength within his hands, his story we still tell. Their faith, though flawed, was true. In God's great plan they played, a legacy of hope, in the paths they bravely laid.
Hebrews 11 concludes by emphasizing that all these individuals, despite their remarkable faith, did not receive the complete fulfillment of God's promises in their lifetimes. These were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect. Hebrews 11:39-40. Their faith is part of a larger narrative that culminates in Christ and includes future believers. As we reflect on the lives of these faith exemplars, we can draw valuable lessons for our own lives. Their stories remind us that faith is often about trusting in God's promises, even when we do not see immediate results. It is about perseverance, obedience, and sometimes enduring hardship, with the assurance that God's plan is greater than our present circumstances. By understanding the mutual influences and triadic relationships in Hebrews 11, we can appreciate the continuity and interconnectedness of faith across generations. This insight encourages us to cultivate our own faith, knowing that we are part of a grand, divine narrative that spans from the past through the present and into the future.